Well, it's the start of a new era for Final Fantasy XIV.
What are we doing here? Oh my god.
Well, what we're here for is to talk about the current Fanfest keynote that had just happened.
So, normally are these events supposed to be world-breaking? Because it looks like this is going to be one of those things that's world-breaking.
I've never seen one of these Fanfests completely shift the whole paradigm like this before. Because I started following these keynotes when Endwalker was about to be released. So this is technically my second actual keynote that I've actually had to deal with.
Okay.
Well, yeah, my second actual true keynote. Because I did go through all the Dawn Trail ones before, but for Evercold, the new expansion coming in January
of next year, it's getting released. So we're going to go ahead and for this FanFest and presumably the next two, which we'll talk about to some detail, we're going to go ahead and do at least a breakdown and our impressions of what is coming, what are our reactions to it, and what do we hope we're going to get more info as we go into the next expansion, which is coming out next year.
Yes. I guess we should go ahead and start off with the trailer. So, what were your thoughts?
Okay, we're definitely hanging out with FromSoft quite a bit because huge Nordic vibes from this overall theme.
Oh, yeah.
So it basically depicts an old woman telling an Alra female ancient story about a great frost catastrophe.
And how they were saved by the Wanderer. So who knows who that is? Is that us? Is that some other character?
Right, but it definitely seems like the overall arching story, at least going from 7.4 into 8.0, is going to be whatever Halmarud is planning. We're going to have to start doing some more star hopping, and thus we're ending up in the 4th.
Yes.
According to Yoshi P on stage at the Anaheim Fanfest.
Yeah.
We got to see screenshots of various regions. A lot of people initially were speculating this is 13.
Really?
At least in terms of like the enemy growth and some of the iconography, I was getting they were saying a lot of 13 vibes. I will say 13 is is the other big blind spot I have in terms of Final Fantasy lore. But for good reason.
For good reason?
Because a lot of people threw a lot of flack onto 13. And a lot of people, myself included, were not interested. I completely turned off from that era of Final Fantasy just because how hard they tripled down on Final Fantasy 13.
I will not blame you. I've never actually finished 13. I actually got walled. Surprisingly, I got walled at a specific boss that's kind of a puzzle boss. And I did not know what you were supposed to do, how you were supposed to do it. I actually threw a hell of a tantrum trying to figure that boss out.
There were some areas that were included that made it look kind of Final Fantasy 7-ish, but I also could... Or not Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 8-ish, like Balam Garden looking.
Yeah, or even Final Fantasy 10 with the giant... with the literal giants.
Yes. They did have a lot of serpent iconography. Definitely, I think they showed a profile of a building where it's like has a Jormungandr style looking base, and then you thought at the top was like Ratatoskr.
I thought it was, but I think it's just another snake. So
right.
There's a lot of serpent imagery in this one.
Yes.
We also saw some concept art of various buildings, as well as a new race, which looks like Discount Palico.
They look like Maine Coons, but they have freaking braided beards. And
They're dwarf cats.
Dwarf cats. And definitely, I think I said Grimalkin because I thought that would be European cat-like that would be used as sort of a potential allied society probably going forward.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to go on with that. We saw a few screenshots of dungeons. We saw a few screenshots of enemies, like the Sword Wolf.
The big thing that... okay, so before I continue, that Sword Wolf looks like freaking Sif and Zamazenta had a... Sif and Zacian had a fucking kid together.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely fantastic work. The other thing is that in the trailer, it shows that Estinian and Alphino are accompanying us into this shard.
So we at least know that they're coming. We have no idea about the others.
Or who else will be meeting in this world.
$10 says your Shtola's coming along.
Stola has to come along. She has to figure out how she can eventually get the hop back into the First to meet her boyfriend.
Yeah, that is true.
But the other thing that was rather interesting was the fact that people were making a lot of comparisons to Heaven's Ward, not just with the theming, comparing it to the fact that Alphino and Estinian played heavy roles in that game, as well as going into a world devoid of religion, or in this case,
or a literal world of gods,
or a literal world of gods, and the fact that, of course, the winter element was a massive factor.
Yeah, people are saying they're getting both Heaven's Ward and Shadowbringers vibes from the trailer.
Oh, that's Shadowbringer vibes is going to be coming in a different way as well once we go ahead and talk about other content that's been revealed.
Also, quick side note, but the theme for the opening, it keeps sounding like the Pretender from Foo Fighters.
It does a little, yes.
And I'm not the only one who's noticed that, by the way.
Okay, good. It's not just us then. The last thing is that the cover class is going to be Reaper.
Yes, I chose correctly.
And I think you said that, like, you were wondering if we were going to have, like, initially, like, if we were going back to the 12th, 14th, which one is the Troya?
That one's the 13th.
The 13th. If we were going back to the 13th, if not next patch, in the next expansion. And I guess we might have our answer.
Yeah.
In that we may be borrowing a little bit more Reaper power before going in.
Yeah, that definitely seems to be the case, because we saw in the 7.5 trailer that we're going to be seeing both Zero and Golbez. Who knows if they're actually coming along with us, or if we're going to have more ties to the 13th in this one.
Right.
But it's certainly one to figure out. But aside from all that, we really didn't get a lot of detail about the lore or stuff like that, because they're holding off on that a lot, because a lot of this lead up to this story we're going to be getting in the 7.5 patch, which is coming out within days.
Right. And then, of course, 7.55 will come out later between I think before October, before the Tokyo Fanfest.
Correct.
So either way, like, we'll have more playing cards by the time that comes out. Speaking of playing cards, I got crushed on my job prediction for the new jobs coming out.
Yeah, so apparently we're getting a tank and a ranged DPS, which are Final Fantasy 14 exclusive. They are not any previous jobs we've ever seen.
So the reason that we know that, aside from the fact that they told us, they brought the shirt that Yoshi P was wearing is actually one of, what is his name again?
Rei'tan from Cape Westwind,
which is the double gun shield wielding Rugadin that you fight in ARR.
Yes,
and that he's only briefly mentioned in the Sorrows of Warlet.
Right.
But obviously that's going to be our tank class. That makes complete total sense. What doesn't make complete and total sense is where the fuck are we going with a physical ranged class?
So you were thinking like Trickster?
No. Let me tell you what my original. So the original thought, because Tokyo Fanfest was when the second class was going to be announced.
Yes.
And subsequently, a certain VTuber, one Iron Mouse, was going to be guest appearing. Now, Iron Mouse is not someone. She's more of a variety streamer. She doesn't do dedicated 14 content.
She has an alt that she uses that she plays personally that she doesn't stream on.
But the big thing about Mouse is that she, before her medical condition made her bedridden, she was professionally trained to be an opera singer.
Yes.
And many, unlike a lot of VTubers who do sing, Iron Mouse is on a whole other level just because of her professional training. Her covers are fucking godlike. And so many people were expecting her to, perform.
Yeah.
So how fucking incredible would it be to have a guest singer on stage and then debut your new fucking class? It seemed perfect, and then they tell us, no, we're not basing it on any prior class. Motherfuckers! That goes into my second theory, which was, okay, the fan theory is on the Fan Fest in Tokyo is on the 31st. Halloween. Those fuckers love two things. They love costumes, and they love a good pun. So I could I could imagine us going the Gambit route of throwing playing cards at mother truckers and doing all sorts of trick shots and jumps and moving around, super mobile. But apparently it's not going to be that either, because Trickster is a class from Tactics Advanced 2.
Yeah.
And so, no playing cards, no song magic. Bows are purely in Bard's category. Dancers have their
Chakram. Chakram are fans.
Which we could basically, you could also qualify as throwing knives.
Yeah.
And guns and crossbows are under the purview of machinist. So what the fuck are we doing for ranged weapons?
Whips.
Balmung would not survive the amount of people queuing up for that job. I thought maybe boomerang, possibly freaking slingshots because of, again, Final Fantasy 13, because of, I think Vanilla used boomerangs, and I think the annoying kid whose name I always forget had slingshots or kids' toys. Mm-hmm. That was the only other one I could think of at the time. I kind of see, like, I get what you're going with Whip as far as, like, the idea of it. I'm not I would be very hesitant, and even then, the class ramifications of putting a Whip user in Final Fantasy 14 with the horny fan base that we all know, I don't think the fan base could survive that. Maybe not. We'll find out in a couple of months. Yes, I suppose so. But I am interested in the shield, what we're tentatively calling Shield Master for the gun shield user, as well as what the roles are going to be when they revamp the combat system. We'll get to the combat system, but first let's talk about some of the other updates that they were talking about. Namely, we're getting rid of tombstones. So, apparently, the Yoshi P wants to go ahead and in the transition going forward, wants to make the game more accessible time-wise, as well as in the way that the mechanics are used. And as far as going for the first half, we're going away from a daily system to a weekly system. We're going from a daily to a weekly system in which we are going to be doing missions to accrue points, which we will then use to either upgrade our armor or upgrade our item level, something along those lines. The details are not fully there, but it's basically looking similar to a battle pass. But it is not a battle pass. Yoshi P is insisting that we are not going free to pay. We are not going to charge you for extra resources. This is just an easier way to go ahead and have you visualize your recruitment of resources. Yes. And basically, he is also going to be splitting up patch content into seasons. So basically, 8.0 to 8.1 will be Season 1. 8.2 to 8.3 will be Season 2, and yada, yada, yada. The reason for this is basically to give people more time to expand, to gather content and to participate without being so stringent on time resources. I believe this is to accommodate for the fact that post-COVID, which is where a lot of 14's expansion came from, a lot of people had more time to do the daily grind at the time. Now, with that being no longer the case, and with one, the patch cycles being longer than anticipated, and two, the feeling of the grind being too monotonous, adjustments into how long people have to gain resources, as well as how valuable those resources are, is being adjusted to better fit the current player base. I will mention that Yoshi P is looking to try to reduce the time between patches, but that will all really depend on how much staff and how quickly they're able to get their ideas operating. I will say that at the very end of the keynote, the president of Square Enix talked about how he's going to do everything he can in his power to allow Yoshi P to do what he wants. If nothing else, it's been very evident that Square Enix has become much more the Creative Studios 3 company, as silly as that sounds. Yeah. But it's clear, based just on how profitable 14 is, they're going to go ahead and let the man do what he needs to do. I mean, almost 13 million active not active, but subscribers. 13 million. 35 million. 35 million subscribers, and so many other players. And they say Dawn Trail is dead. They also are revamping what your character screen looks like. They are going to put you front and center. You're going to basically it's going to be a complement to the adventure pass, but make you know how when 15 came out and you had your character screen,
Yeah.
how you had all 4 of the boys posted up and they would basically idle in the. They're basically going to do that, but for 14.
Which is pretty good. You can actually put them in a specific pose or an emote.
It also has your gear highlighted alongside your character actively. Think of it as more of a dynamic version of when you examine someone out in the street. Basically just another way to portray it, but more character-oriented.
Speaking of character customization, they are introducing a lot of that, starting with you're now going to have a color picker to choose your hair, skin, and eyes.
Basically expanding your options from just whatever the racial defaults were.
Which means you can start making some real freaks.
You still have limitations on body, although apparently...
Body and face, but...
apparently Yoshi P is considering it.
Yeah. The butt slider is a maybe. No, it's not a butt slider. It's not a maybe. It's a yet.
It's a yet. Which the Xenos fans may rejoice. In addition, we're getting more... The hair color thing will allow you to get more of the Solution 9
hair
colors. You're going to be able to layer on stickers and tattoos for the face to give it your character more. They gave off a lot of examples that were like scene girly, but I'm assuming that you're going to do like layers, scars, and tattoos to go ahead and for more rugged characters.
Yes, they have. Those are already in the game, but I think it's more they're going to be updated and modified.
It would be nice, like for Hrothgars, because obviously that's what we do. It would be nice if that meant that our fur patterns had a lot more customization.
Right.
Because I think that's like the only reason I ever started modding was not for the nefarious reasons. It was because I wanted a fucking fur pattern that actually had Azima theming to it. That was the entire reason I started down that road.
I'm going to tell you this right now. There is an outfit piece on the market board for the Azima outfit, which allows you to have like sun logos on your thighs.
Ah, I see.
So if you want to get that off the market board,
that might be something to look into. They're also toggling certain pieces of gear off of armor. This is usually belts, pauldrons, anything that would make it overly flashy to reduce it down.
Which is great because as a Hrothgar, anything with pauldrons just looks too weird and awkward.
Think of this as the tailoring in Elden Ring.
Yes.
Which is, as I mentioned to Rei'tan when we were watching the keynote, there's a lot of crossover between Elden Ring and Final Fantasy XIV going on right now.
Yeah, it seems to be the case, but it's more in theming than it is an actual collaboration.
Right. Although I wonder if what's his face?
Miyazaki?
No, Grimm was also a consultant at one point.
Grimm?
George R.R. Martin.
Oh.
Because remember, he was the story writer for Elden Ring.
Oh, that is true.
But for the most part, what we're seeing is the glamour meta continues to evolve.
The glamour meta continues to evolve, as well as, among other things. For starters, we should also mention that they're planning on opening up data center interactions.
Meaning...
for Party Finder and stuff like that.
Yeah, meaning basically by default, you now are searching on your entire nation server when doing Duty Finder.
For instance, we're on Primals, and I know a few friends that are on Crystal. This means now that I can interact with them in Party Finder or Duty Finder and stuff like that, which is very helpful.
Yes, it basically should mean that when you're searching, you will not need to jump servers to go ahead and find active parties if you're playing beyond normal time frames.
I wonder if that means that the quirks of different servers are going to start leaking into other servers.
It's more likely than not.
Apparently a quirk in Primal is, you know the dragon in Labyrinth of the Ancients? The first.
Yes.
Apparently, it's a very primal thing to move that boss all the way to the north.
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
And people find that annoying.
Really?
I always thought that was the right thing to do.
Yes, apparently not. Yoshi P also states that they want to improve public fields. For those of you who are not familiar with the term, this is your wild areas. This is your cityscapes, because you can effectively operate the game through the menu. Mostly, if you're not doing MSQ, Yoshi P wants to change that to where it's more vibrant, and there are reasons to interact with it outside farming certain goals.
Yeah, farming certain goals or doing fates and that sort of thing. So we'll see what that involves, but that'll be announced in like the following FanFest.
Battle content is being adjusted. He primarily lists a middle tier between normal and savage difficulties.
Yes.
What used to be the extreme versions, right?
Well,
effectively,
trials are usually extremes. Raids are either normal or they're savage. Now we're going to have an extreme version for trial
for raids,
for alliance raids. Yes,
for 8-person raids. They are also adjusting the progression routes for all alliance raids. They're not saying they're making them easier, but they are trying to adjust the timing of it. I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah, so neither do I. So we're going to have to wait until they explain it.
They did say that they did say that basically a lot of things here are just explaining the concepts, and that they will be elaborated more upon in Berlin or Tokyo.
Yes.
Lastly, they're going to say that they're adding new battle content, but not exactly going over what that is.
Which, it could be new types of interactions, it could be new types of stuff like variant or criterion dungeon, it could be something like chaotic. We might be returning back to that well.
Before we get into the battle system, do you want to just talk about some of the things that were expected from 7.5 onward, as far as content?
Yeah. So the data region wide thing is coming in 7.5 for
one. Rapid fire changes coming in 8.0. Level cap is getting its 10-point boost as expected.
Yes.
Treasure hunts, fates, and the hunt are getting updated. Dungeons are coming in. Obviously, they're building in new items and equipment. We have the Ultimate Raid confirmed for the next patch cycle,
which is Dancing Mad Ultimate against Kefka.
So the Mad Clown returns once again. We're going to be able to see what his shenanigans are. We have the Alliance Raid announced for Evercold.
Yeah.
And my god, that was a blast of the past.
It was not only a blast of the past, it utterly sunlocked me. Evangelion, of all things.
So, not only did Yoshi P confirm that this is going to be another guest-run Alliance series, because the creator of Evangelion is being let in the door to direct this entire series, it is also going to be a celebration of the 30th anniversary of this series.
Oh, God.
How old do you feel now?
I feel ancient. I feel decrepit. I feel myself turning to dust with every waking moment.
On the one hand, so no different than Shinji.
At least I can actually function. Don't give me that look.
All right. But nonetheless, the community has at least had a wild time with that, and has either promised that Y'shtola or Alice is going to call us an idiot, and at some point someone is going to tell us to get in the damn robot again.
That's probably going to be the case. Either I've already seen artwork of Alpino and Alice in plug suits.
Add Y'shtola to that list as well.
Okay.
But more importantly, people are bringing up, we still have the G-Savior.
We do have the G-Savior. If that ends up becoming a thing as well for this, that'll be interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yoshi P promises no system requirement updates, but does state that PlayStation 4 users have 2 years. 2 years to go ahead and get a new console.
Yeah, because basically once patch 8.3 comes out, they really can't support PS4 anymore. Which makes me wonder if I need to get a PS5 Pro.
I don't think you're there yet, but more likely than not, that would be the time to start looking into PC parts once the AI boom completes. Or once the AI bubble pops.
Yeah, because, oh boy. Because I don't know if I should get a PlayStation 6 if they ever announce that.
I'm not sure if they are, and even then, you're better off with PC. Even my laptop probably runs runs good, if not better, than PlayStation 5 sometimes.
All right, well, you can help me build a PC, build me a gaming laptop in the future.
Gaming laptop or desktop, depending on what you comes out better.
The problem with the desktop is I need the room. I don't have the room.
Right. Although, speaking of options, they also hinted that Switch 2 will also be able to play Final Fantasy XIV.
I don't know how that's going to be a thing.
Well, apparently they were showing it at 60 FPS, at least in the dev testing. And according to Yoshi P, if you already have a subscription elsewhere, you will only need to pay a half subscription to use the Switch 2 version of Final Fantasy XIV, and that this will not be considered part of the Nintendo Switch Online system.
Basically, you can just play it online for free without the Switch's online service.
Right. You would just need to pay. You would either need to pay an additional fee to your present subscription, or you'd have to get a whole new subscription by itself. Basically, I would say that this is for people who have desktops but also do have a Switch and would like to experiment with a remote option. I might try it one month or two just to see how it runs and see if that might be something in the future. I definitely wouldn't want to raid with it, but it would be fun if I'm like on a business trip and want to go ahead and do my weeklies.
I mean, yeah, that would be helpful in that case, but this is going to have to be a wait and see sort of situation.
Speaking of wait and see, let's talk about it.
The battle content?
The job revamp.
The job revamp.
So, this is probably the most divisive portion of the FanFest.
The job system is basically being split into two. We have a Reborn mode and Evolved mode. Reborn mode is what we have already.
Yes.
It is just what the system is already. It's going to keep evolving. It's going to keep getting new skills and stuff as you get to level 110, as usual. Evolved mode is the mode where they have revamped the rotations and the job identity to be more streamlined, but also deal more damage, and also
remove synergy actions.
Remove synergy actions, and give everyone, like I said, a new identity.
What it basically appears to be is we're going tabula rasa 8.0 forward. Is that we know that all the classes to some degree have an amount of jank to where people have said needs buff, needs rework, too strong, etc. Rather than continually adjust them, they're going to say 8.0, if you are an existing class prior to 8.0, we are going to fix it to the extent that that it works in Reborn mode. We are going to revamp your class development to where you have your full kit by level 50, and then 51 onward is going to be alternate paths, side upgrades, potency upgrades, etc.
Yes.
That's what they're going to redo for
Evolved mode.
For your Evolved mode on the existing classes. All other classes that are coming new and going forward will always be Evolved only. The Reborn mode is basically retro.
Yes.
And that the idea behind it is, aside from every class is being reworked, we're changing the idea of what it means to be a Dragoon, what it means to be a Paladin. We're also making it simpler, mechanically speaking, because there's not as many buttons, but we're also making it effectively more strict, more important. We're trying to make every class feel different.
In Yoshi P's words, it's to express individuality within the job.
So they had 4 classes to show off for that. They had Paladin, Dragoon, White Mage, and Bard. So
Leo over here knows his Paladin. I know my Dragoon, and to a certain extent, White Mage. Neither of us understand Bard.
I understand Bard. I just don't. I just haven't played it. I ended up being Machinist, but I understand the gimmick behind it. So with Paladin, the main changes is that the normal way you do it is you build up your bar to cash out for Sheltron and cover to go ahead and mitigate damage. What's happening now is that all classes have a bar that basically regens resources naturally, and then it has a secondary or a tertiary bar to account for whatever the gimmick is.
Yes.
So, for example, defense is what paladins naturally regenerate, and then when they use Sheltron, if it's timed within 6 seconds of an attack coming in, they get a counter that they get to cash out on an opponent.
First it's 8 seconds, but if it's 4 seconds and you do, it's even more damage returned.
Correct, and that also returns gives you a honor stack, which is also something that can be cashed out later on.
Which is pretty interesting, to say the least. I've always been a little terrified of doing Paladin, A, for lore reasons, and B, because it seemed like the most complicated of the tank jobs.
Well, because you played Warrior first, which is... Warrior, by extension, is mindless in comparison.
It is Unga Bunga.
It is Unga Bunga. But nonetheless, it looks like they're keeping most of the stuff. They did merge some things. For example, Provoke and Shirk is on one button, and it just changes function depending on whether you're targeting an enemy or ally. Same thing with Clemency and Divine Justice. The stun attack, your Shield Bash or your Shield Lob, actually will change function depending on whether you're in range of an enemy or whether you're in melee. So a lot of aside from just we're changing the function, we're also trying to simplify. If a button doesn't need to be on its own and can be combined with another button, we do. Another example of this is the stun and silence effects are on one action,
right? And
they give both effects when used. So it's definitely considered a streamlining, but the idea is that you are also stronger because we are changing the mechanics in a way that you are more incentivized than in Reborn mode.
It's also combining multiple buttons that are usually used in a combo into one single button, which I've seen used in Viper.
It's not just in Viper, but also when we would do, say, PvP content or the instance content in which you're playing as another character.
I should mention that the person behind this stuff is the person behind PvP.
Which is, again, I think part of the reason why they're seeing that they're trying to sort of make it, because in a sense, at least for me, who doesn't do a lot of PvP, and you're the same way, it is very much two different systems.
Yes.
But not just is going to go ahead and change the way that you learn the rotation, but also how fast it works.
Yeah. So, that's how Paladin works. Dragoon is a little bit interesting because, as usual, with usual melee jobs, you have either a flank or a rear type attack. With Dragoon, you have a left, a right, and a rear type of attack. A Sinister, a Dexter, and a Heaven's Ward. And in order to use that attack, you basically slowly build up a gauge, which gives you a pip that you can use on one of those things, and using that in the correct position unlocks a specific combo. And once you get all three, you unlock the Stardiver combo. I should also mention that with your jump, you can activate a jump and you can ignore the positional requirements for for those specific moves and do your rotation a lot quicker.
This isn't too dissimilar from how a lot of DPS work now, but it's a lot snappier from the way that they were showing off in the Fanfest.
Oh yeah, Dragoon felt like it was moving at lightning speed in that demo. They also introduced a move called Sky High, which you jump incredibly high in the air and you're stuck unable to do anything for a little bit.
You have 90% damage resistance while you are actively in the air before dropping down for a massive AoE hit and then doing an extra damage combo afterwards.
Yes. We should mention that it's only 90% damage reduction at the moment. That is subject to change. So,
as all numbers are.
Yes. But from what I can tell with Dragoon, I'm going to be perfectly honest. The Dragoon as it is now in 7.0, I don't like. It feels awkward and not very interesting to go through. This, however, feels fun, interesting, and I'm going to be perfectly honest, it feels like it's sucking me off.
I'll go over Bard briefly because Bard has one of the biggest changes, and I think that reflects in the overall dynamic of the evolved mode of combat. Bard basically still has its 3 songs that it uses to give buffs. It still has its ABC combo. It goes ahead and you basically requires playing all 3 songs to get Bardic Inspiration before you can cash out for your finale and reprise.
Yes.
The more interesting thing about this, and this is what's going to be consistent going forward in class development, is that all of your, if you remember how you would have your GDC bonuses, those are all tied to your songs now.
Yes.
And what they're changing is that you no longer have your
raid buffs.
Your raid buffs, and instead they are implemented within the core of the core class mechanic.
Which is interesting because this completely ends up removing the 2-minute window, the 2-minute rotation that a lot of jobs have been doing.
And the reason for that is that they basically saw that it basically only mattered if you were doing high-level content. And that for someone who was learning just either doing MSQ or just doing the bare basics on the trials and alliance raids, it wasn't something that was being implemented to the fullest.
It also resulted in a specific pattern that every single boss had, where it would do a mechanic, then take a break, do a mechanic, take a break, that sort of thing. This will allow them to actually start experimenting with how the bosses in trials and raids play out now, which gives them more leeway and more free time to experiment.
But at least, and this is not my group of friends, but this is just more of the nebulous community. The main concern was that without this 2-minute cooldown removed, or with this 2-minute cycle removed, it's basically no man's land. Basically, everyone's going to be doing
their own thing,
and there's sort of a thing about one of the things that you and I do whenever we go on is that we often comment about we know who has done content repeatedly and who does not, just based on when they're doing nonsense.
Yeah.
And so it seems like this is ideal for the purposes of making sure you're not required to do a button X at time Y, but it also seems like it's a perfect setup for shenanigans, and not necessarily the good shenanigans that we would like to get into.
It really is going to depend on how these jobs actually play out in the future. Keep in mind, they are still working out the hiccups with these jobs at the moment.
Yeah,
so what we've seen is an example of what they plan to do. It's not the final product.
Do you want to go over the White Mage changes also? Because you are the one who's more familiar with that than I am. And because you have played multiple healers as much as you don't like that topic.
To be honest, I'm still not entirely sure what the changes to White Mage are, other than they've removed the dot, and that from now on, basically all your attacking buttons are instant cast instead of requiring a cast bar attack.
They also made it that if Hroths basically modifies your heals rather than it being its own heals.
You basically create something like Holy Sanctuary, where when you do a heal, you get a potency return on that, which basically kind of gets rid of the Blood Lily.
You also get shields on top of regen.
Yes, they kind of fused a couple of stuff like I forget if it was Benediction and Aquaveil.
Yes,
they fused those together, so it's now both a shield and a regen at the same time.
Which, while very potent, also potentially means that the idea of shield healer and
regen
healer is going away.
Yeah, or it could be that the styles of it are very different, because every healer job does have a regen of some kind.
Right.
But it's just the amount of regen
or how you do it, because also the same thing, like Astro is a regen healer, but it does have some shield capacity in it.
Yeah. And I'm sure Astro even has its own instant heals.
Yeah, it does. Your basic ones, which also do it. But it's going to be interesting because the last thing that they sort of revealed was that, much like how regen and shield healers have that demarcation in terms of whether or not you use one or the other for party composition, they are forming a pseudo differentiation in tank classes, to which the Paladin and the new tank job that they're coming out in 8.0 are going to be considered, quote, main tanks.
Where they take the main damage and provide counters.
But the remaining tank classes, that is Warrior, Gunbreaker, and Dark Knight of all things, are off tanks.
Which provide party support.
And more specifically, reducing the damage that a boss deals to party members.
Yes.
Which almost seems antithetical to the storyline of Dark Knight as a concept.
Which is almost, but then you remember that Sidurgu is wanting to protect Riol.
Sidurgu is a giant tsundere, and to an extent, our inner self knows that. But it's one of those things where it's very contradictory. Also, again, going back to Paladin being the fuck you class, being that it does counters.
Yeah.
So it seems mechanically it's fine. I don't have an issue with that. I'm just saying from the lore perspective, you may need to have to go back to Heaven's Ward and change a few things there, Yoshi P.
Maybe, but at least it makes sense with Gunbreaker and Warrior, especially Gunbreaker, because the Gunbreakers were basically the Queen's Guard in Boja.
Right, and as a reminder, all of the classes in their evolved versions are getting reworked from level 1 to level 50, such that you have full access to the rotation, and then your buffs going 60 onward are going to be side upgrades, alternate routes, and potency buffs to keep you in line with current content.
Which I actually like, because certain jobs at level 50 are almost non-existent at this point. I will point to Viper for this, because it is literally 2 buttons.
And your experience with Monk has made you realize how bare bones the class even feels, even after level 50.
Yeah.
So
it wasn't until level 60 that the job started to actually feel like it made sense.
Right, and part of that has to do with the fact that, look, we have over 6 expansions of this thing. There's bound to be some slog that's going to have to be reworked, and at least they found a way to, you can hold on to this as long as you want, but change is coming.
Dragoon doesn't get an AoE attack until level 40.
Oof.
That is one of the biggest issues for low-level content with that job.
Oof. And you have to kind of circle through your single targets if you want to use your AoEs as a monk.
Yeah.
On top of the fact that you don't have any range capacity.
Yeah.
Like, you kind of get one at level 70, but it's really just a finisher before you have to back out of an AoE.
Yeah, I've been learning that. But that seems to be the majority of what's been going on with the job changes. Overall, I know this is going to piss off some people. I'm cautiously optimistic, for lack of a better term. How would you put yourself in this situation?
I would say that it is optimistic nervousness. I am someone who's not too worried about sort of the plot. I'm here for it. I'm going to enjoy that aspect of it. What I'm worried about is sort of the mechanics of it, and I go back to Monk, because Monk's whole thing is interweaving combos to build up big damage finishers.
Right.
And so while we've seen how that works for Dragoon, Monk is certainly one of the classes where that kind of choice input has mattered in the past, and I would also say that Ninja has a similar issue where when you're doing mudras, although they've simplified it now to where you don't have to get the exact mudra, just the last one, that also kind of feels like we're going down the same path.
So we're really going to have to see how each job operates individually with this.
As sort of a refresher, the main classes I play are Dark Knight, Astrologian, Red Mage, Monk, and let me see, Dark Knight, Astro, Red Mage, Machinist, and Monk.
Yes, those are your 5.
And of the 5, like Monk and Machinist definitely need reworks.
Yeah.
To the extent that, like, I'm kind of withholding judgment until we get those together. Viper, and to an extent, I think Viper, Sage, Pictomancer, and probably Reaper are going to be fine going forward. I don't see them getting reworked too much, but I think the old ARR classes are going to be the ones that are going to be put to the fire the most.
Yeah.
And that's really where we're going to see the changes.
The main thing I'm wondering about Reaper is that part of its combo involves activating Arcane Circle in order to get a free Enshroud.
Mm-hmm.
So Arcane Circle is a raid buff. So I'm wondering how they're going to change that.
I think that's part of the reason why a lot of the resources are being changed to one is going to be a constant tick over time. You're going to be constantly gaining that resource to max, and then you're going to use those to power your secondary resource. So
it might end up being tied in with Death's Design.
So, like, for example, for Viper, I think we're going to naturally build up our Ouroboros gauge, and then we're just going to be building the pips for what would eventually be cash out.
Right.
But that's just speculation. Yeah. I think that there's...
Well, Viper doesn't really need much in the way of changes. You activate Serpent's Ire for a free Ouroboros.
Right, but I think that Ouroboros is... I think that's what's going to be your tick over, and then you're going to have extra big moves when you would complete the rotation.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, we're not going to see too many changes for the newer classes. It's really the older ones that I'm concerned about because they, like, again, Ninja and Monk in specifics. I'm not too worried about anything past, I would say, Stormblood as far as being drastically overhauled. I am curious to see what they're going to do for Machinist and Samurai, because the other thing that they said was every class is going to have some level of utility, and those two come to mind as being sort of DPS hogs.
Right.
And so we're going to see what they do. Also, with the GDC changes, it means that Dancer, which is primarily a support class, might need to be reworked more heavily just because it's going to need a little bit more damage numbers if we're not just... Because it's going to have... I'm sure it's going to keep Dance Partner, but all of your other stuff is going to be changed, I think.
Right, because, that is really going to... Yeah, the way you said for Dancer, that actually does make me curious about that job, because it is one of my favorite jobs to play, so how they alter that one, I am definitely going to be curious.
And I think that's where it basically is, to where they showed off one of the four... each of the four main ones, just so that every way you had an idea of how the rework direction was going. But until we see more, especially on mages, we're not going to really be clear on how exact, like, for example, for red mage for me, like, the main thing is bouncing back between red and white casts, so that way you can build up for your true red magic. I'm curious to see how that's going to work within the Evolve system.
Yeah, so we'll have to see how this plays out, but I guess we would say we're both cautiously optimistic.
Yes, and it's basically... I'm sure once we get to Berlin, I think that's going to be a little bit more assuaged. And by the time we get to Tokyo, I think we'll have a comfortable position of where we're going into Evercold.
Yeah.
Into Evercold. As of right now, I'm still not decided on what class I would be going into Evercold. I would, right now, just based on the sort of vibe, I am leaning on doing Shield Master. I have no clue what the new ranged fist DPS is going to be, but we'll see what they pull out of their asses for that one.
Yeah, well, if you're going to do the new Shield Master, you're going to have to hard level about 10 levels.
Yeah, but that's the other thing, is that, remember, they said that the way they're revamping everything... it's going to be... So, this class should theoretically come out at level 90?
It'll come out at level 90, and you'll level it up to 100.
100, and then 100 to 110 for the actual MSQ.
Yes.
How that's going to work, we will find out, but it's Fending gear, so it shouldn't be that bad.
Yeah, it shouldn't be. So, you'll have the gear for it.
Yeah, but we'll find out how everything else is going to work, and hopefully we will... not be angry by the next time you hear us.
Yeah. But overall, I'd give this whole keynote and the combat discussion, I'd say I'd give it a solid 9 out of 10, because there was a lot discussed that completely shook people to the core.
I'm going to be a bit more reserved. I'm going to say 7 out of 10 because a lot of what they said is stay tuned for details in Berlin and Tokyo. I want to say that this is a good opener, but we're going to need to see what they pull off in Berlin, and that's going to be where really the meat and potatoes is going to come in for the rework. If they're able to go ahead and wow me in Berlin, I might be go ahead and advocating for the Evolve system a bit more, but right now I'm still kind of like on the fence about it.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have... This is definitely a wait-and-see kind of situation, but I just wanted to get our thoughts out on this situation because it just came out, and this channel has mainly been about Final Fantasy XIV for a while now. And
yeah. Oh, we did mention one more thing. We did forget one more thing.
What?
We do have a confirmed date of when we're going to be coming back after the Berlin, because we will be covering Berlin, which will be in July 28, 29.
Yeah.
But also around the same time, Manderville will complete.
Manderville will complete, and so we will have a talk about both the Alliance Raid and Manderville.
We will probably finish the Alliance, because the Alliance Raid's coming out next patch, right?
Yeah, it's coming out in literally a few days.
So we'll probably do the Alliance Raid, but we won't hear from us until probably August when I finish Manderville. Of course, if you want to go ahead and see Manderville completed early, go ahead and keep on to the main channel, and Ray will go ahead and get that last episode pitched as soon as it's out.
Yep, I will do that. And also, I'm guessing we won't be able to do the final podcast for Dawn Trail until patch 7.56 comes out in September.
Right, but then afterwards we'll do 7.56 in September, October. We will have the Tokyo Fanfest in October or early November, and then from there it's just a 2-month wait to Evercold.
Yeah, which will be interesting to say the least. So I guess until then, this has been Ray.
This has been Leo.
Signing out. Later, guys, and have a good day.